You got your Mega Mac guys here on Birds 365. Yes, my apologies. I overslept today. Johnny Mac, thank you very much for carrying my water for the first 55 minutes of the show today. But I'm here to make fun of Ed Kracz. So it's going to end up being a fine day for me as far as I'm concerned. EK, how you been, buddy?
Hey, you know who doesn't oversleep, Jody?
Who?
Sam Howell. Sam Howell
is he an early riser?
Yeah, he's an early meeting early.
By the way, I think Sam Howell's going to be an NFL starting quarterback next season. I think the Commanders are going to trade him and get something for him. I think he proved enough to where there's a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks, and you could do worse than Sam Howell. Now, it's not going to be in Washington. Washington's going to take, depending on what Chicago does, they probably like Caleb Williams because they hired Cliff Kingsbury. But I think Sam Howell's going to be a starting quarterback. I think they can get something for him. I'm not saying, maybe a conditional fourth that turns into a third, something like that. Teams are desperate at quarterback. Thoughts, Ed Kracz?
Yeah, well, I'm with you, man. That guy's work ethic is so un-Mac-like, so un-Jody Mac-like. It's how can you not take a flyer on the guy?
Even sitting here having overslept into today's show, I got more of a chance to be a significant contributor in the NFL next year than Sam Howell.
Wow. Man, there's some bad
I'll set the over-under. Johnny Mac, I'll take whatever action you want. Over-under starts for Sam Howell next year.
The key is
at 3. I'll take the under 3. You think he's going to start all year? Anywhere, team, you get all 32 teams, the number of starts at quarterback by Sam Howell in the NFL.
Well, now here's the problem. Here's the problem. Washington can just keep him as a backup because he's cost effective. But I'm saying if they're smart, I would spin him off and get something for him. Now it depends what they can do in the backup situation. Look, there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, and there's going to be more teams that need quarterbacks depending on how the draft shakes out and how free agency shakes out. And is he one of the best 32 quarterbacks in the world? Yes. He's probably 27 to 32. He's probably in that bottom 5, but that's how I look at it. He's a NFL starting level quarterback. So I'm going to give Ed Kracz credit on that one. And I didn't expect that, to be honest, when he started the year in Washington. Now, the bigger news, Ed Kracz, is your passport up to date? I know you're going to Japan, so it's got to be, right? It's got to be.
Yes. Yeah, I bet. You know what? I better check it, though, just to be sure. You're right. That's a good reminder for me. I'll put it on my to-do list to make sure it has not expired since I've gotten it. I don't think it has, but yeah. Boy, that's a long way to go for a regular season game, isn't it? Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Woo!
Gas it up, baby. That's
on
a good
Friday night. Yeah, 10, 11-hour flights.
Yeah, which is still not as far as Japan. I got to get on a plane in October sometime to go to Japan whenever my son and wife figure out when.
Yeah, well, I was telling you, I've always wanted to go to Japan because I'm a wrestling fan, and wrestling's big in Japan. Yeah. So I've always had a pro wrestling fan. Ed's an amateur wrestling coach, and it's very big in Japan. So I always said I'd like to go to Japan. Sao Paulo, Brazil. Other than there's certain reasons I'd like to go, but I would rather have a Friday night at Lincoln Financial Field in week 1.
Yeah, it sounds exotic. Sao Paulo sounds like an exotic place to go for sure.
Oh, it definitely is.
I'll be interested to see how many Eagles fans, make that journey.
That's a tough one. Yeah,
that is a tough one. It's not like driving up to the MetLife Stadium to watch the Giants and the Eagles play. So we'll see.
You know who's going to be the star of Sao Paulo? Vic Fangio. Going to fit like a glove. The party atmosphere that is Sao Paulo.
Was it Ryan Lochte who got arrested in Brazil? Don't urinate in public at a gas station. I believe that was Brazil.
Yeah, that could get Vic Fangio in trouble too.
Yeah.
You see that all the time in New Jersey, though.
Well, you can do it in Jersey. They're not. Yeah, they don't accept that in Brazil. They got more class than us, evidently.
Just be smart enough not to get caught. All right, we got a bunch of things we got to hit with Kracz. First things first, new offensive coordinator. I guess it's now official because the Eagles not only announced it, released a statement. They released a statement from the head coach on how excited he is for the meshing of the ideas between what used to be his offense, now our offense, Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni. I guess they wanted to do it. They had to do it this way. You're going to get a press conference at some point with both Fangio and Moore. You're going to do it separately. We know these changes have come down. We know what we think we know what it's going to be like. But when do we, in your guesstimation, get a chance to actually hear from the parties who are going to have to work together hand in hand?
Yeah, I mean, listen, last year, and I looked this up, the Eagles hired Desai and Brian Johnson, I think it was January or February 28th, right? Like 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. But we didn't get to talk to him until the rookie minicamp, I think, on May 11th. So,
Yeah.
Not
never had an introductory, huh?
No, we never had an introductory. Now, I know the season went longer last year. It was, then your free agency starts like 2 weeks after they hired them. So I'm sure, everybody was kind of involved in that process. And then, after that, I guess it's the draft buildup, but they weren't made available until May 11th, first day of the rookie minicamp. So this year, a month earlier, they were hired. I would hope that we would see them. I mean, the scouting combine's coming up here in a couple of weeks. It would be nice to kind of get their thoughts on everything going into the combine. I'm not sure we will, though, but we'll see.
Let me ask you about that, because John and I just discussed it about the Senior Bowl, that Howie Roseman was not spotted there basically all week. Did you ever hear from anybody, John, who said that they actually
No, he was not there. Did confirm he was not there. Neither was Nick Sirianni. Alec Halaby led the contingent. Who else was there? Dom was there. Everybody saw Dom. Matt Russell was there, who's their senior personnel guy, was there. So it was sort of Alec and Matt Russell were the top guys.
So do we think Howie and Fangio and Moore and Nick Sirianni are going to ghost the combine as well?
No.
Their new way of doing things is we'll get others to do it and then come back and we'll have this great meeting and we'll break down the video, whatever you have. Is that the new standard operating procedure for the Eagles?
No, the NFL mandates coach and GM speak at the
combine. Not anymore, Ed. The Rams don't go. I think Jody's on to something. They might. I don't think the Eagles do it because there's such a strong Philadelphia contingent that goes out there, and they're not going to screw them over because the only reason they're going out there, let's be honest, is to talk to Howie and Nick. I don't think the Eagles are going to do it this year, but I can see it down the road. They're getting worse and worse when it comes to media. I could see them announcing down the road, you know what? We're not going to do this anymore. I think it's closer. I think it's a possibility. I don't think it's happening this year, but I think it's a possibility it happens in the future. There were like 3 or 4 teams that didn't send their guys out there, either coaches or GMs.
That'd be a bad look, to be honest. I don't think you can get away with that here in Philadelphia. Maybe in LA where, the fans aren't as passionate, obviously, as Philly fans. But, boy, that would be a really tough sell to say, hey, we're not going, and why we're not going. There would be no reason good enough, in my opinion.
No, not in my opinion.
Well, I agree.
I'm still kind of giving
Yeah.
Go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
I'm not saying they should do it. I'm saying I could see them doing it in the future. That's all I'm saying. I could see them doing it in the future. I don't think they should do it. I agree with that aspect, but yeah, how they've tried to limit things as much as humanly possible over the past number of years, and I think it's going to continue to go in that direction, unfortunately. I mean,
makes no sense to me. And yeah, I'm critical of the Eagles that they didn't have Howie down and or any of their key coaches down at the Senior Bowl. Why? What are they doing home? All right, I know they're still tinkering with the staff. They would have lost a key defensive tackles, somebody, because they weren't ready to meet with their agent. What's more important? This upcoming Eagle draft is as big a draft as they've had in a couple of years. The talent needs to be replenished on this team. They've got all these compensatory draft picks. You telling me Howie Roseman's presence, best place for the Philadelphia Eagles wasn't at the combine, at the Senior Bowl last week? I'd throw the flag on that and say BS.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I agree with you. I think, it is an important draft. They have two second-round picks, a first-round pick, all the comp picks you mentioned, and you could just go down the list of what the Eagles need, and it's a pretty long list, obviously. And to not be there, I don't know. It's not a good look, clearly, and they should have been there. But, they delegate this authority, I guess, to whoever it was there, and they're going to rely on whatever they tell them. Maybe that's a new way of doing business. But you're right. What were they doing? Is the staff? I know the staff's important, but you don't have to be in town to put your staff together. You can do that anywhere. You can. Well,
I would say don't blow out your staff, and you can have everybody down there.
We're back to that conversation.
Yeah, I mean that's why they weren't there, because they were hiring coaches, and as far as why were the major coaches not there? Well, they didn't have any major coaches. Well, Bick's in place, but Kellen didn't put pen to paper till yesterday. So they don't even have coaches to go down there. So if you want people at the Senior Bowl, maybe don't fire your whole coaching staff.
Well, you have Nick Sirianni, for 3 days to go down there. You don't have to stick around for the game. There's 3 days of practice.
Well, he's hiring guys.
Well, again, you don't have to be sitting in your office at NovaCare Complex to hire anybody these days.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, John, do you think he hired the DB's coach yesterday from the Broncos, who's coming in?
Well,
do you think that was a Vic Fangio hire?
I do think it was. I do think it was a Vic Fangio hire, but the Eagles are bending over backwards, and you saw it with Kellen Moore. The statement comes from Nick Sirianni. They're bending over backwards to make it seem certainly that Nick Sirianni's in control of hiring his staff still. I don't think any of us believe it, but they're trying to create that perception as best as possible.
I think terms are being dictated to Nick, and that's just the way it's going to be. And Vic Fangio, I'm sure, just has the complete control to hire whoever he wants to fill out his staff. And I think Kellen Moore will be given that same, free run. I mean, listen, to get Kellen Moore, they probably had to promise him that, it's going to be your offense. It's going to be your fingerprint on the coaches, because he's a young upcoming coach, or at least he was before he went to the Chargers. And even in Los Angeles with the Chargers, there were some factors that kind of worked against him with, Herbert getting hurt and his receiving core kind of undermanned. I think to get Kellen Moore to come here, they had to give him what he wanted. And I'm sure one of those things is you get to pick your coach, you get to run your offense, you get to call the plays, and we'll see where that goes.
And, oh, by the way, in hour number 1 here on Birds 365 without Jody McDonald, went fine. Thank you very much. Les Bowman made a great point. We can talk about the coaches all we want, and experience and conflict. If you don't have the players, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
They several years ago, people were saying, "Oh, Steve Spagnuolo's done. Spags just doesn't have it anymore. Spags is not going to." And now he is the genius defensive coordinator of the National Football League. In Spags, we trust. Do you think maybe it's because they did some good work drafting young defensive backs who stepped in and became all pros? You think it was all because of Spags, or you think the general manager did a good job of replenishing the defense this year? Did Spags go from smart to dumb to smart again? No, it's all about the talent anyway. So the reason Howie Roseman wasn't at the Senior – never mind. We already beat Howie out for that.
Well, it all has to start with the coaches. You have to get the coaches in place first, right? I mean, because that's just the order of things, right? Because then we'll have free agency, and we'll see who they bring in during that. And then you have the draft, but you have to have your coaches in place. So that's kind of the priority right now. But you're right. If you don't have the talent, and, the Eagles don't have the talent, especially on defense. Clearly, we all know that. Vic Fangio will look a lot smarter if Howie Roseman brings in some talent on that side of the ball.
All right, I want to throw something at both of you guys. I saw from our buddy Jeff Mosher inside the Birds, and he and Adam are pretty plugged in when it comes to coaching stuff and the agent stuff. So I give it more credence than maybe some others. And so this is what Jeff said. And Jody's not going to like this. As we were told, Cliff Kingsbury was the leading candidate at first to be offensive coordinator when they were looking for someone to replace Brian Johnson. What we were told is they had the second conversation with Kingsbury where you talk more and discuss the framework. And somewhere along the line, the Eagles liked his concepts and what he could do offensively, but there was a certain level of autonomy. They were not willing to go that far. What the hell? We talk about threading needles. They're not only trying to thread the needle, they're trying to thread the smallest head on a needle possible. If they're talking about, all right, we want to give the offense to somebody else, whether it's Kellen Moore or Cliff Kingsbury, but we also want you, and Nick kind of mentioned this at the season-ending press conference, Ed, we want to keep some things that we've done well. Is that the needle they're trying to thread when they're doing this stuff? What are we doing here? Hire somebody and do a job.
Yeah. Well, there's going to be a meshing of ideas. There has to be. I mean, the Eagles, it wasn't like their offense was terrible. I mean, it was top 10.
Well,
25 points a game. I mean, they did some things well, just not enough things. And they need new ideas. And that's what they want this guy to bring, Kellen Moore. And maybe they didn't feel like Cliff Kingsbury brought enough of those things, or just Kingsbury wasn't happy with it. But listen, the Raiders didn't hire him either as their OC. He went to Las Vegas.
He's got a big thing. He wanted 3 years and they only offered him 2 years. So he had a bunch of people after him. He had a bunch of options.
Yeah, but the Raiders didn't seal the deal. So he went to Washington. And now the Eagles are going to have to play that offense twice a year. And, we'll see exactly how Cliff Kingsbury can turn that around and what Kellen Moore can do. It's going to be, it's going to be great to watch.
Yeah, I'll take the Eagle offense over the Commander offense for the next 2 years, 3, however long Kingsbury is there. It doesn't bother me in the least, John. You said you don't think Jody like that. Good. If that's why Cliff Kingsbury isn't here,
the standpoint
good job, Howie. Good job, Jeffrey.
I meant from the
whatever
standpoint.
explanation you needed to throw out there to say, yeah, that's why we couldn't hire Cliff Kingsbury. I don't care.
Yeah, but
I really don't care.
If they wanted him first, I want it from that standpoint. They wanted him first. Again, in your mind, in theory, that would be a bad decision.
Correct.
If they wanted him first, we're back in the, they wanted Adam Gase before they got Doug Peterson. Maybe it works out, but I don't know what's going on.
And Washington wanted Ben Johnson first, but Ben Johnson wanted how many millions per year as a first-time coach? I mean, never.
Boy, Josina's the one who put out $15 million, and she got killed for it. I think it was $15 million. I think it was asking for $15 million to be a first-time head coach. $15 million. Nick Sirianni, as a comparison, got $7 million. He was looking for $15 million.
So I once again don't care the reason that Cliff Kingsbury is not the Eagles offense coordinator. I'm just happy that that's the case, and I don't think he'll do a great job for the Commanders, but we'll see. That's the beauty of it. It plays itself out on the field. I look back at his work and think, because Johnny Manziel had a couple of good years on the collegiate level a couple of years ago, that's why he's going to be a great offensive coordinator.
I don't know. I have nothing against Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know him. I have nothing against Kellen Moore. I don't know him. I'll give them both a chance. But he's done more than Johnny Manziel. He had Case Keenum setting records. He had Patrick Mahomes setting records. I mean.
And now we're in the NFL, right? So his NFL track record is what? That he's going to command a 3-year deal?
Kyler Murray. You had Kyler Murray setting franchise records. If he was here,
running the football? They never had a more prolific passer with the Cardinals than Kyler Murray.
That 1 year Kyler Murray had? Woo, you forget the 1 year.
Was it a year or was it a half year?
No, it was a year. I'll look it up. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was
spectacular. I mean, they fell off, but he was spectacular. Numbers-wise, when he got that big contract, let's see, he completed, and it was actually 3 years, but his biggest years, 3,900 yards passing, 26 touchdowns, 67% completion percentage, 819 more on the ground, 11 touchdowns. He was good. And he had 3 big seasons in a row before he got injured.
Did he get him to the playoffs? Were the Cardinals in the playoffs?
They one and done 1 year.
Yeah,
one and done 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, he's had success, Kingsbury. But listen, I think we're splitting hairs here between, Moore and Kingsbury. I like Moore. I mean, I think
I agree. I would have said either one. I said either one would be fine for me. But I did say, here's how I framed it. Cliff looks like the better guy to accentuate what Jalen Hurts does well. But Kellen is the better guy if you want him to evolve and do some of the stuff that everybody talks about, under center, handle blitz, hot routes, things like that. I think he's the better one to help him evolve.
And if that's the choice, John, that's a great point. If that's the choice, you're Howie Roseman, you're Jeff Floyd. What would you prefer? Let's accentuate what he does well or evolve.
I would prefer evolution. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's why they got the right hire.
But they seem to want Cliff first, which is fine. And we'll see how it works out. But I think both are good. I think both would have been good hires. But I think the best hire would have been to let Nick Sirianni run his damn team. I think that would have been the best hire. But that's out the window. So
yeah, I don't think that was negotiable.
Well, it wasn't. Yeah,
no,
it wasn't.
Right.
Clearly.
John
Clearly was not.
He's still singing that keep the band together tune. Continuity is the key.
Continuity is king.
They needed to do something to shake this thing up a little bit. All right, Eddie Kracz, we got a game coming up on Sunday. You don't need your passport. All you need is a one-way ticket to Vegas, and then you come home with the millions of dollars you're going to make gambling, and you're allowed to, aren't you? Sports Illustrated doesn't keep you guys from gambling, do they? They don't have a inner company memo that says you can't gamble. You guys can turn the world on its ear by picking winners, can't you?
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Inside info too. We take advantage of it all.
That's why we've got Ed on, is for great inside info. So give us your great insight and info on the upcoming Super Bowl between the 49ers and the Chiefs. Here's the thing that I've been hammering on, Ed, and maybe it's foolish, but here's the pick. Who's got the better team? 53-man roster, better team. San Francisco's got the better roster. Who's got the better quarterback and the coach? Oh, that'd be Kansas City. Although the quarterback and the coach aren't too shabby with San Francisco. You're not Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. We're talking Hall of Famers. Which is more important, the better team or the better guy at two key positions like quarterback and coach, head coach? If I knew the answer to that, I'd be able to pick the game. Because I don't know. I can't pick it yet. But I'm going to ask you to do it, Ed Kracz. Which is more important?
Well, you mentioned the two things, and they both favor the Chiefs, right? I mean, the better roster is one, right?
You think the Chiefs roster is better than the 49er roster?
Yeah, you're right. I don't. I think the 49ers they have better weapons, obviously, on offense. They're tough to stop. But I think this defense on the Chiefs is vastly underrated. I mean, I don't think it takes too much of a backseat to what the 49ers roll out there. I like this Chiefs defense. It's proven to be very good all season long, and yet it still seems underrated to me. So I like having the better coach and the quarterback in a big game for sure. And that favors Mahomes and Andy Reid. And, that's a reason I would probably take the Chiefs. I will take the Chiefs in this game, is because of the quarterback and the head coach, the experience. I know San Francisco was there just a couple years ago, and they probably feel like this is unfinished business for them. But I think this Chiefs defense has been underrated all year long. You mentioned Steve Spagnuolo, who has gone from, hey, does he still have it, to now he has it again, because he's got guys like George Karlaftis off the edge, who they drafted a couple years ago. And, they have underrated linebacker play, I think, with Bolton and Tranquil. And, I like Janarius Sneed. Now, it's kind of concerning that Sneed wasn't at the Super Bowl media night Monday night.
Yeah, but Ian said it was for a good reason, not a bad reason. So I don't
hopefully,
think to worry about it.
Yeah, hopefully it's that. But but I think this Chiefs defense is good enough to hold down the 49ers. Now, we'll see how Brock Purdy plays in this game. That's the big question mark to me, is can he perform like he has performed most of the season? He's prone to some inconsistencies, and how will he handle the pressure of playing in a Super Bowl? Whereas Mahomes, that won't bother him one bit. He's been here, done that. So I like the Chiefs to win this game, second straight Super Bowl.
Yeah. So do I, Ed, but everybody's picking the Chiefs. I go, yeah, when everybody goes one way, I start looking at the other way. And I'm like, but I can't. I think San Francisco's the better roster. As Jody mentioned, edge at quarterback and coaching staff. I think coaching staff, because I think Steve is better than Steve Wilkes. Steve Spagnuolo is better than Steve Wilkes. I think Steve Wilkes just plays what they play, and Spags is going to come at Brock Purdy from 97 million different directions. So I think it's more than just Andy. And I do think the Kansas City defense is more talented than people realize. So maybe the roster deficiency. The one thing San Francisco is a big advantage in, you mentioned, is skill position players. They're just much better skill position players. And if Christian McCaffrey has a big game or Debo has a big game, that could shift things. But, man, I can't get off Kansas City, and I want to get off Kansas City. I want to find a way to get off Kansas City. So somebody talk me into it before I make my final prediction. Somebody somewhere talk me into
it. In Brock we trust. Jump on that Purdy bandwagon with me, Johnny Mac. That's what you got to do. You want to take the 49ers.
You're picking Kansas City.
What's that?
I think you're picking Kansas City. You seem to be leaning on that.
I'm leaning toward the 49ers.
Are you?
Ooh, yeah. There's a little giveaway.
All right. All right.
Leaning.
I thought you were leaning.
Friday, I will make an official pick on Bird 365.
I thought from the way
I'm definitely leaning toward the over. I think both Mahomes and Purdy are going to go up and down. Even though I like San Francisco's defense, we're singing the praise of Kansas City defense. I think it's going to be a game where both teams are in fear of the fact that the game's got to be played in the 30s and will play that way from snap one, that this is not going to be 17-10 like last week, Chiefs and Ravens. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I think. Well, I don't know what the over or what the number is for
47.
The over. 27?
47.
Oh, 40.
And I think it'll be played in the 50s.
Well, 38-35 last year. That was certainly the over.
I don't think this one's going to be 38-35, but again, I don't think it's going to be 17-10 either. No. So I'll lean toward the over. All right, Ed Kracz, we expect you to get out and get your passport done before the day is over. No. You got time to run out to the whatever local establishment you need to get a new stamp on your
he's going to be a world traveler this fall.
Yeah, we'll see about that Brazil trip. I'm not all in on that one yet.
You're not in just yet?
No, that's a lot of, Japan's a 15-hour flight.
To go to Brazil and then have to go to Japan a few weeks later, you might want to beg off Brazil.
I don't think the human body is built for that sort of jet lag.
Eddie K, appreciate it, bud. We'll get you back up in a couple of weeks. Talk then, big guy.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kracz. Here with us on Birds 365. All right, Johnny Mac, Jody Mac, we got to come back and put a bow on the show. But Birds fans, before we do that, here's your chance to save up to 40% on your car insurance. And you can do it right now from one of JAKIB Sports' great partners. Here's what you need to do. Call one of the managing partners, either Jim or Fran, and tell them you're a friend of both JAKIB Sports and Birds 365.
My name is Fran Salerno, and I'm a managing director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.